Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating perspective from our source material on the sacred, character-building role of teachers in Islam. In this worldview, education isn't just some transactional process where you memorize facts and pass exams. No, it's actually seen as a sacred duty, where the teacher is this absolutely pivotal figure shaping human character itself. So let's break down exactly how this whole concept is structured. So, to really get this perspective, we have to look right here all the way back to the very foundation of the Islamic faith. The word you see here is Iqra, which translates to read. And according to the text, this was the very first Quranic word ever revealed. Think about what that means. It establishes this absolutely crucial baseline. The entire foundation of the faith begins with knowledge. And naturally, if your whole belief system starts with a command to learn, well, the people delivering that knowledge, the teachers, are instantly elevated to a position of immense importance.
Now you might be wondering, how exactly does the source define a teacher? Well, it goes way beyond just someone standing at a whiteboard or reading out of a textbook. Educators are viewed as literal life guides. The text describes them as individuals who transition humanity from darkness into light and from pure ignorance into knowledge. They aren't just transferring data into your brain, they're actively building humans. They're molding character and literally shaping the future. It's a hugely holistic view of what an educator really is.
And looking at the historical ideal of this concept, the text presents Prophet Muhammad as the ultimate teaching model. What's really emphasized here is the method. He taught Adab, which means manners, as well as ethics and humanity. But, and this is key, he did so through love and gentleness, not harshness, not strictness. In this framework, the absolute ideal educator is someone who guides you through compassion rather than intimidation.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer magnitude of respect that historical scholars had for learning. I mean, just listen to this quote. "Whoever taught me a single letter, I am their slave." Obviously, this isn't meant literally, right? But it perfectly captures this overwhelming gratitude and reverence students historically felt for their educators. Just learning one single letter of knowledge was seen as this massive, life-altering gift. Which brings us to our next section, the decline of modern times.
Now, the source points out a pretty painful contrast between those high historical ideals and the reality of modern classrooms. Just look at the comparison here. On one side, you have contemporary behaviors, students arguing, talking loudly over their instructors, mocking them, or backbiting. And on the other side, the Islamic ideal of respectful silence, deep attentiveness, and intentionally lowering your voice. The text highlights this modern behavior not just as, typical teenage rebellion or being rude, but as actively disrespecting the exact people acting as your life guides.
To understand why that modern disrespect hurts so deeply, the text really dives into the hidden sacrifices educators make. Think about it. Teachers sacrifice their own personal time. They give up sleep, and they work completely tirelessly behind the scenes simply so their students can succeed. So, when students act out in class, the text argues that they're entirely disregarding these profound, unseen personal sacrifices. So, let's look at the solution in our next section, the student-teacher relationship and adab.
How do we actually restore this sacred relationship? Well, the focus completely shifts to Adab, which basically means proper etiquette and manners. And the source gives us clear, actionable steps to follow. First up, physically sit properly and lower your voice. Second, listen with full, undivided attention. Third, and the text is super firm on this, never argue. In fact, arguing with a teacher is practically equated to a forbidden act. And fourth, make continuous dua or prayers for them. Since teachers are shaping your character, they're actually helping to shape your afterlife, so praying for them is seen as a really vital duty. To show what this adab actually looks like in practice, the source shares this really beautiful anecdote from the famous historical scholar Imam Shafi. He said, "I would turn the pages so quietly in front of my teacher so there would be no sound." Just let that sink in for a second. Think about that level of mindfulness. It perfectly shows the physical reality of the reverence we were just talking about, being so incredibly respectful of a teacher's space and focus that you literally don't even want the rustle of a piece of paper to disturb them.
And this brilliantly illustrates the source's core thesis. There is a massive, massive distinction between knowledge acquired with adab versus knowledge acquired without it. If you learn with proper etiquette, the text says that knowledge brings lifelong barakah, which translates to divine blessings. But on the flip side, if you completely lack manners, sure, you might pass your exams, you might even get your degree. But according to this worldview, that knowledge is going to provide zero spiritual light and absolutely no lasting blessings in your life.
Moving on to our final section. who are the real teachers? So our understanding of who qualifies as a teacher expands quite a bit here. Who exactly deserves this intense level of respect? Well, the text shows it goes way beyond just the traditional classroom. Obviously, it includes school and college instructors and religious teachers like a madrasa ustad or a Quran teacher. But fundamentally, the mother is recognized as a child's very first teacher. The father comes right after, along with community scholars and elders. Basically, anyone who imparts valuable life knowledge is considered a teacher, and because of that, they deserve this high level of adab.
And regardless of which of these teachers a student is interacting with, the source insists that the foundation of this relationship has to be built on deep affection, immense respect, and trust. It should absolutely never be built on fear or intimidation. It's really all about having a mutual, deeply respectful bond.
So the crucial point is the societal ripple effect of all this. According to the text, just one honest, dedicated teacher has the power to change an entire generation. Literally, the success of all great historical figures and scholars can be traced directly back to the dedicated educators who guided them. The idea here is that without that dedicated educator, you just don't have societal progress. Which leaves us with a really provocative question drawn from the source's final advice. When all is said and done, will people remember your degree or your manners towards your teacher? While academic accolades eventually fade away, the character and the etiquette you show to those who guided you from darkness into the light is what truly defines you. So think about that next time you sit down to learn. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I hope it gives you something profound to ponder today.